It is my pleasure to introduce Phil Angelides, today the state treasurer, tomorrow, with luck and your help, the next governor of the great state of California. We're supposed to go sit down.
We're right here. Thank you. Thank you so much. Wow. As they would say, my father would be very proud and my mother would believe every word of that. What an honor to be joined here by Jack O'Connell and by Dianne Feinstein and so many other great public servants and leaders. And Jack, I want to thank you for your commitment to the children of the state, and I want to congratulate you today on today's news that we're making progress under your steady and sure hand. Thank you for your public service, Jack O'Connell. And what a thrill to be introduced by Dianne Feinstein. What a thrill to be running on the same ticket as she will run for and win re-election as our U.S. Senator. What a thrill to have her by my side. She lifts me up. She gives me hope. She gives me energy. I know that standing with Dianne Feinstein for the values that built the wealth and strength of this country, we will win. Dianne, for your years of service to this city, our state, and this nation, thank you from the bottom of my heart and my family's heart. Thank you so much. And I do want to acknowledge today before I start that I wouldn't be here without my own family, starting with my grandparents and my parents, and I sure as heck wouldn't be the Democratic nominee for governor without the support and the energy and the love that I get from my family every day, whether we're up or down. Please say hello to Julie and Ariana and Megan and Christina. And it's good to be back here at Jeremiah's Pick. I've been here before, talking about how we can create jobs for the future. Thank you for what you do. A great business with good jobs, creating the economy of the future of California. Friends and fellow Californians, I'm joining you here today to talk about the promise of California. I'm here to talk about the commitments that are at the heart of the California dream, that if you work hard and play by the rules, you can build a better future for yourselves and your children. That if we invest in the common good, if we widen the circle of opportunity to all our people, then all of us prosper. I'm running for governor because that dream is in jeopardy. I'm running for governor because hard-working middle-class families are working longer for less, caught in a never-ending obstacle course of stagnant salaries, soaring gas prices, and higher tuition for their kids. The fact is that they're facing higher health care costs if they can afford health care at all. Now, it's not that everyone's lagging behind. Tax rates for the wealthiest families and for big corporations have fallen. The size of the lobbying industry has literally doubled, and special interest influence in George Bush's Washington and Arnold Schwarzenegger's Sacramento is at an all-time high. That's why we need a governor who will restore the promise of middle-class opportunity instead of selling it off to the highest special interest bidder. A governor who will put hard-working families first. And build our common future again. The fact is that we have great challenges in front of us. For me, these are not academic issues. I'm the child of immigrants, a husband and father of 3 daughters, someone who relied on student loans, financial aid, and work-study to get through college after my father was laid off from his job, someone who built a successful business from the ground up. I come from middle-class California, so I know firsthand California rose to greatness not because we lavished more on those who have the most, but because we gave hard-working families more chances, not fewer. We made sure that every young person who wanted to go to college had a chance regardless of financial means. We gave tax breaks to those living paycheck to paycheck, not to those who could put 10 lobbyists on their payroll. We believed that the promise of California was the birthright of the many and not the privilege of the few. Now I ask you to look across this great state today, to look at what's happened under the short tenure of Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. Deficits as far as the eye can see. Cuts in public education at a time of lagging student achievement. College tuition and fees that are as much as $5,000 higher at a time when we need more educated young people to compete in the global economy, not fewer. Then there are the things that didn't happen. A common sense minimum wage increase, vetoed twice. Health care for all children, vetoed. Affordable health coverage for 1 million more working families at a time when health care costs are up nearly 50%, blocked and ultimately killed. Governor Schwarzenegger swept into office with euphoric pledges of reform. Instead, he has left us with a trail of broken promises and an agenda that is little more than a special interest shopping list. Friends, I believe, like you, that California is still the home of hope, the frontier of opportunity. We're the richest state and the wealthiest nation in human history, with an economy that dwarfs most nations. Now, we can keep traveling down the low road of trickle-down travesty, where we lavish more on the special interests, pile more debt on our children, carve more out of education, health care, pensions, the very staples of middle-class existence. Or we can choose the high road of prosperity and opportunity. We can rein in our runaway debt. We can invest in our future again. We can put our tax code back on the side of middle-class families and small businesses. We can invest in education, knowing that it builds our common future like no special interest giveaway. And we can invest in innovation and path-breaking discovery so California's economy can once again lead the nation and the world. Now, you and I know, despite what some pundits say, that this election will make a profound difference. It's a choice between two very different sets of values and two far different sets of plans for the future. When Governor Schwarzenegger was asked how he would address the mountain of debt he has created, he said, and I quote, "There really is no plan to end the deficit." Hey, at least he's consistent on his agenda for the future. He has no plan to reduce middle-class tax burdens. He has no plan to improve education, no plan to expand health care for families. You know what? Maybe he ought to change his name to Governor Schwarzenegger. Of course, the governor's now making more election year promises, just like he did in the recall. But he broke each and every one of those promises. He said he would not burden our kids with any more debt, and then he went ahead and did it. He turned young people away from college/classroom education when he promised to protect it. He's coddled special interests when he promised to block them. He's broken more promises than he's had acting roles. Now, we don't need to listen to his rhetoric to know how he'll govern. We have his record of rewarding special interests time and time again. Is it any wonder he has raked in more than $100 million from the special interests in political contributions? How can he possibly govern effectively when he's so deeply inside their pockets? I'm no Hollywood action hero, but maybe it's time for a leader who will actually keep his promises to the people of California. A governor who will restore the promise of this great state, not to six-figure lobbyists in Sacramento, but to the hardworking families who are the backbone of our state. Today, I am laying out my plan to renew the promise of California. It is a plan that I will put before the people of this state and the legislature in my first 100 days as governor. So unlike today, Californians are not left with excuses and empty rhetoric for the last 100 days. My plan begins where it has to begin, cleaning up the budget mess that Arnold Schwarzenegger is leaving behind. And let's face it, I'll have a tough job ahead because he has left us with a $4.5 billion deficit next year, enough hot checks to melt Glacier Point. As governor, I'll do what President Clinton and Senator Feinstein did when they took office. I'll balance the budget. I'll put an end to Schwarzenegger's borrowing spree. I'll cut wasteful spending, I'll crack down on tax cheats, and I'll get rid of needless corporate tax loopholes. And I will restore tax fairness to avoid more cuts to education and health care and more harm to poor and middle-class families. I'll make couples who earn more than $500,000 a year each year to pay the same tax rate that Governor Reagan and Governor Wilson asked them to pay for just 3 years until we can get back on our feet. For someone earning $1 million a year, that's about $8 a day, not much more than the price of a couple of lattes, so we can use that money to balance the books and give a boost again to the hardworking families who built the wealth of this state. And unlike Governor Schwarzenegger, I will never spend what we don't have. Everything I propose as governor will be fully paid for, line by line and dime by dime, within a balanced state budget. And once we've done that, once we put the state back in the black, we can get back to the real business of government, which is helping the great people of the state. And I'm going to start by doing something that Arnold Schwarzenegger has failed to do as governor and can't possibly afford to do while he is lining the pockets of his special interest supporters. I will cut taxes and provide help for middle-class families who have been squeezed by the Bush-Schwarzenegger agenda. And let me tell you who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the families who have seen the cost of college loans raised by George Bush and the price of college tuition and fees jacked up by Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm talking about the families who have paid dearly at the gas pump while George Bush and Arnold Schwarzenegger have cozied up to the oil companies who are now making $350 million a day in profit. I'm talking about the families who are paying more for health care while George Bush and Arnold Schwarzenegger have coddled the HMOs and the drug companies. The families that have seen their tax burden go up while the wealthiest have seen theirs go down. Let's be clear, the special interests have gotten every break imaginable. As governor, I'll give a break to hard-working middle-class families for a change. That's my agenda, and that's the agenda we're going to campaign on and win this fall. And I will begin by cutting taxes for the people who really need it. Up to $660 a year for families earning up to $100,000 a year. I'll roll back the Schwarzenegger college tuition and fee hikes, a savings of up to $5,000 for families with students at our state colleges and universities. I will increase property tax relief for low-income seniors who rent or own their own homes, the very same tax cut that Arnold Schwarzenegger tried to eliminate last year. And I will fight. I will fight. And I will fight for a minimum wage that is permanently linked to inflation so the people who work full-time will not be pushed down into poverty. And together, we will expand health coverage step by step, starting with all the children in this great state of California. Now, my first priority as governor will be to ease the burden on middle-class families and to invest more in their future. Now, Governor Schwarzenegger is already attacking me the way Republicans always do, using all their special interest campaign contributions to pretend he's not on their side, while scaring people into thinking I'm the one who will hurt working families. Governor Schwarzenegger, shame on you. You know full well that you're defending the perks and the privileges of powerful corporations and the wealthiest Californians who've gotten the biggest tax breaks in modern history, while I'm going to cut taxes for 4.5 million families and seniors. Let's be clear, there's only one candidate in this race who will stand up for middle-class families and stand up to the special interests, and you better believe it's not Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, the second pillar of my plan is a world-class education. Now more than ever, our economy runs on ideas, our precious human capital, and yet faced with a state that is 48 out of 50 in student achievement, 43rd in what we spend to educate each child, the governor cut K-12 education and broke his promise to protect our state's legal guarantee of funding for our schools. He said he would cut it, I quote, over my dead body. Let me be clear. If you elect me as your governor, this body will make sure that that body never gets a chance to cut schools and colleges ever again. Because the fact is that no matter what Arnold Schwarzenegger says today, he will put our schools on the chopping blocks next year because he has no plan to close his multi-billion-dollar budget deficit. I have a real plan. I'll make sure the funding is there for our schools and our kids, and then, with you, I'll forge innovations and initiatives so we can reach even higher, raising student achievement and reducing the number of public school dropouts by 25,000 a year by the end of my governorship. Recruiting 40,000 new and well-trained teachers over the next 4 years to raise up the teaching profession and to attract the brightest young minds into our classrooms. Expanding the number of Californians earning bachelor and associate arts degrees by 40,000 students a year to give us a fighting chance in the fast-moving global marketplace. We're living in a new economic era. The entire store of human knowledge now doubles every 5 years. Our children and our children's children will be working in jobs and industries we can't even imagine today. We need more education and not less of it, and it will be my top priority as your next governor. Thirdly and finally, I will make the smart and targeted investments that truly build the economy of the future for the people of this great state. I see a California future where we nourish economic opportunity by helping the small businessman in an inner-city neighborhood, by supporting scientific research because the biggest breakthroughs come when we chase science to its own ends, and by putting our state in the vanguard of emerging industries such as alternative energy and renewable energy, a $400 billion worldwide market. And here's how I'll do it with you. I will cut taxes for small businesses by up to $5,000 a year and dramatically expand microloans so we can create untold jobs and business opportunities for the future. I will create a Clean California initiative to dramatically reduce gas and diesel use, making us the world leader in clean fuels. I will use the investment power of California's pension funds, building on my successes as state treasurer, to invest in innovation and in our urban neighborhoods, making more of our taxpayers' money while we build the economy of the 21st century. And I will make smart investments in California's infrastructure to improve our economic competitiveness and our environment at the same time. In the coming weeks, I will be traveling to every corner of this great state, speaking in greater detail about my plan for economic prosperity and opportunity for California's middle class. And I expect you'll be hearing from my opponent, too. You've already seen his special interest funded ads saying, I'm going to take California backwards. You know, it's Phil doing the moonwalk. But the fact is, maybe he means I'm going to take us back to a time of fiscal sanity, or back to a time of rising wages and opportunity for the middle class, or back to a time when families could work 30 years and then retire with respect and dignity and security. Or back to a time when California had the best schools and the finest and most affordable public colleges and universities in the world. If that's his idea of going backward, then I'm all for it. And by the way, when we're doing that, Arnold Schwarzenegger can go back to making action movies. But here's the truth. There's a reason the other side resorts to the kind of well-funded assaults, these kinds of false claims. A vast array of powerful interests have been feeding at the trough in Washington and in Sacramento. What I'm proposing here today is a fundamental change in priorities, because we cannot afford 4 more years of Bush-Schwarzenegger economics. I'm running for governor to stop the gravy train. I'm running for governor to put the state back on the hot side of hard-working families, not the special interests. And I will stake my election on it. It's getting harder to raise a strong family in California. It's time for a governor who understands that struggle, who's committed to addressing it. My grandparents came to this country, to this great city of San Francisco, from Greece at the turn of the last century. My grandmother worked as a seamstress, long hours into the night, so my dad could go to college. He didn't go to the University of California at Berkeley, one of the greatest universities in the world, to glorify himself. My parents didn't work hard all their lives, like their parents before them, to drive fancy cars or to see their names on a marquee. They wanted their kids to have even more chances than they had had. That was their dream, that we would do better than they had done, that they would keep faith with the next generation, and they did. When I was growing up, my father always reminded me that for every advantage I would be given, and I was given many, a loving family, a safe home, good schools, for every advantage that I would be given, remember that there are people who work 15 hours a day just to survive, people who never get a break from anyone. He told me, don't ever, ever forget them. If you elect me as your governor, I'll never forget. I'll stand up for them, and I'll stand up for you each and every day. I'll give this everything I have to make this wonderful state the home to your homes, your own California dream. Let's win this election, and then let's go on to win something much greater for our children and our children's children. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much.